Yeah, a lot of them are complaining, but they're not telling you the truth. This is what really caused that Texas judge to get kicked off one of the largest murder cases in Texas history.
Did the jury get it right?
Yeah, they did.
So I'm going to break down to you what really happened in the Karmelo Anthony case, what happened with the judge, most important, why it happened, and what's next. Let's start right here. First, here goes a refresher for anybody that needs it. April 25th, 2025, Karmelo Anthony, 17 years old, fatally stabs Austin Metcalf. They go to court. He's found guilty of murder. Karmelo claims self-defense, but the jury was not buying it. They sentenced Karmelo Anthony to 35 years in prison.
Jeff Metcalf finally had a chance to read the words he's been writing in a notebook to address his son's killer.
You said, people think that grief is sadness, but it's not, it's rage.
Oh.
Pure, unfiltered rage. You failed yourself, you failed your parents, you failed society. You don't belong in this community.
That's correct.
Metcalf's victim impact statement came at the end of Karmelo Anthony's murder trial.
First offense, guilty of murder, 35 years. Almost immediately after the verdict, Karmelo Anthony's attorneys filed a notice of an appeal. Shortly after that, a new high-powered legal team swoops in to defend Karmelo Anthony pro bono. That means for free. This includes trial attorneys, civil rights attorneys. You got it. Okay, the new team, they filed two major motions. The first motion was a new trial. The second motion was remove the old judge to get his ass off the trial. They felt he was biased, unfair, and Karmelo Anthony would not get a fair trial with that judge sitting there. That judge's name is Judge John Roach. Today was the hearing on the recusal motion. This is what puts John off the case, so he has no further contact or connection to the Karmelo Anthony case. Visiting Judge Sid Harle came in to decide if Judge Roach should be removed from the case. The defense main argument centered around an interview that John Roach gave to WFAA. During that interview, the defense argues that John Roach made statements that were incriminating. They proved that he had a bias. And because of that bias, it would not give Karmelo Anthony and his defense team an opportunity to present a case. It was prejudicial. The statements that John Roach made in that interview, the defense argued, gave the impression that he had a bias. Now, only you will be able to determine that. You and I can take a look at that together and determine, was that the case? What do you think?
Your name and how you spell it.
My name is John Roach.
Did the jury get it right?
Yeah, they did.
What's your take on Karmelo Anthony?
I don't know. He seems like a nice young man who committed a crime. That's the process, and whatever they say, they get it right. Did I know what the perception was going to be? Sure. I knew in the back of my mind what the perception was going to be, but I'm not here to satisfy perceptions.
The defense argues that once a judge goes on television and publicly says the jury got it right and the defendant committed a crime, while the motion for a new trial and an appeal are still pending, it becomes very hard for a reasonable person to imagine that that judge is unbiased.
I sleep well at night.
It becomes hard for a reasonable person to imagine that a judge who made statements like that would ever rule that the case or the court handled the case inappropriately, or that there's any way that Karmelo Anthony was not given a fair trial. I mean, he already said he believed that the trial was fair. So not only would he have to retract his words, he'd have to prove that he'd have to admit that he made a mistake. And it didn't seem to me like he thought he made a mistake. Judge Harle, he listened to the arguments. He watched the interview. He didn't say that Judge Roach was biased. He said the answers to those questions during that interview may give some the impression that he was biased or partial. He walked the line. So he let Judge Roach save face And still, Karmelo Anthony's defense team get what they were looking for. A new judge who may see things differently. Harle specifically said, this is about how it looks to the public. He didn't have to prove that John Roach was unbiased or biased. All he had to do was look like he may be biased. And that would be enough for the public if the majority of people watching who were not connected to the case, who were not fuming on social media, losing their minds. But we're talking about regular people that just want to know, was the case handled fairly, justly, without bias? Well, if they saw that judge, they saw that film of that judge making no statements, looks like he made his mind up. And that gave Judge Sid Harle all he needed to make his decision. That makes sense? The moment the ruling was handed down, the reaction outside the courtroom was immediate.
What do we want? Justice! What do we want? Now! What do we want? Justice! When do we want it? Now! What do we want? Justice! When do we want it? Now! What do we want? Justice! Justice for Karmelo!
Yeah, people were feeling pretty good. Supporters of Karmelo Anthony erupted in cheers in the courthouse hallways and in the parking lot. You could hear the chants of Free Karmelo as the news spread that the original judge had been taken off the case. Yes, folks, hallelujah. Maybe now we can get some justice. This was a clear win for the defense team on day one of these hearings. So what does this actually mean going forward? A brand new judge will be assigned to hear the motion for a new trial, and this starts tomorrow, August 20th. The new trial motion raises serious questions. Here's just a few. Number one, claims that the courtroom was effectively closed to the public. Two, a disputed handshake or off-the-record agreement about what evidence will be allowed into this case. Three, Anthony's decision not to testify. And four, jury selection issues, including the absence of black jurors. Now, of course, the prosecution has pushed back on all of these issues. They say, hey, you got a trial, it was fair, it was just, nothing to see here. They believe that the verdict should stand as it is. There's also a question about timing. Here's some stipulations here. This has to move very quickly, and if they don't move in time, well, it's automatically going to be denied. So they got to get this motion done on the books, on the record, and get this thing overturned quickly. Zoom out for a second. See, this case has been racially polarizing from the beginning. We got folks who are dead set on the idea that Karmelo Anthony came to that track meet wanting to kill Austin Metcalf, though they hadn't had beef. They had no issues. Then we got people that believe that Austin and his friends pursued Karmelo Anthony and put him in a situation where he had to react in self-defense. Then we got those people that believe that Karmelo Anthony may not have committed murder, but maybe he committed something else. They don't believe he had any intention of taking Austin Metcalf's life, but that he made a poor decision in that moment in time. And that is not justify a life sentence of 35 years. So we're kind of all over the place. Of course, many of the detractors that are online making the most noise about this case were upset that Karmelo Anthony called him a murderer. They don't believe, or they believe very much that Karmelo Anthony is a bloodthirsty killer, though he has no record of doing so. Doesn't mean what he did was a good thing. When they see a black kid, they think automatically, YN.
Hopeful and prayerful that justice is indeed served. We are not insensitive to the fact that a life was lost, but we also don't believe that two lives should be lost through injustice. And he's paying a price right now. A life was lost, and so he is paying a price. I don't think that should go without being stated.
I want to be clear here. Removing the Judge John Roach does not automatically mean that Karmelo Anthony gets a new trial. It means he gets a new judge to decide if he gets a new trial. So I'm just trying to put expectations where they need to be. Do I think he deserves a new trial? I think he does. A different judge would decide if there were reversible errors in the original trial. It's important that it be somebody who has an open mind to the case, who will say, let me look at it for what it is. Let me look at it for the rules that were made, the decisions that the judge made. Let's make sure that he followed the rules correctly. Also, we know it doesn't mean an automatic new trial, but to Karmelo Anthony's supporters, you got to get this part done, or you can't get a reversal on the verdict. So you got to get a new judge, because that old judge wasn't going to do it. All right. So this is the first step. So it's important to get an at-bat. If you can't get up to hit the ball, guess what? There's no way you're going to hit the ball. So you got to get a shot. You got to get a turn at bat. And this is a turn at bat for Karmelo Anthony supporters. That's what things stand as of today, the 19th of August. Was it the 18th? 19th. So that's what things stand today on the 19th of August. Tomorrow will be the day. We should all be glued and locked in to find out what happens. I'm as interested about finding out as you are. Make no mistake about it. I will be covering this case closely, and I'm pulling for a new trial. Because I do not believe this was a premeditated murder. I do not believe this was cold-blooded murder. I just don't. If you enjoyed this video, do me a favor, hit the like button and share it with a friend. My name is Tim Black, and you've been watching the most dangerous show in America. I'll see you tomorrow. Take care.
Next up with Tim Black.